Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to FOA Live. It's a pleasure to reconnect and super excited to welcome back, instead of you being one-to-one with me at the start of this show, welcome back Rush from Singapore. And Rush, I believe you were traveling a couple weeks before and also out handling the quality time with everyone during the FOA retreat in Connecticut. So thanks for being back with everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you for holding the fort down while I was gone. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our listeners. Very, very excited to be back. I'm sure Jennifer did a great job in my stead. And just wanted to touch base on Singapore and say a few thank yous. Had a wonderful time over there. The race was, the race was great. Probably the best F1 race of the year because there was actually a fight for the win instead of Max Verstappen winning by 5 minutes, which has happened most of the F1 season this year. So I wanted to specifically thank Shirley Hahn. She was out in Connecticut and put me in touch with a contact over there named Charles Chong, who was nice enough to pick me up from the airport and gave me an extensive history of Singapore, which was very insightful and fun. He went above and beyond in making me feel welcome. I would also like to thank Linda Nam, who Charles introduced me to. And then through that, I'd also like to thank Michael Ma, who was nice enough to invite me to his table at the Marina Sands Hotel. So that was, I'm going to put some more detail together. I've got some pictures, which Jennifer has been nice enough to post a few of those, and I have some more that'll come, and I'll do a short write-up in one of our newsletters. So thank you all.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rush. And I will share that Rush and I have had a little bit of debate about the jet lag that comes with going on a trip to Singapore. So for those of you I have not been, I have to say my international travel has been minimal. But I figure when you leave and there's a 12 or 13 hour change, depending on your time zone, and you come back, then it nets to nothing. But I'm not winning in the jet lag conversation. So for those of you, again, who have actually done it, and I'm sure empathize with Rush, I'm not going to get any points there. But today I will say just a couple other housekeeping points. We are closing the door on touch points and reservations for Austin Formula One, and very shortly after for Vegas. So if you're interested in either one, please let me know. And we do have a number of new event invitations that have come in. Some will remain offline for just for FOA members and Resource Council, and others will be posted to the calendar. So be on the lookout for some changes and updates over the course of this week. Thank you very much. And so moving on to today, very excited to introduce Lonnie Gienger to the broadcast, and we've been prepping with Lonnie a little bit, but I have to say that Lonnie was so welcoming. When I first had the opportunity to meet Lonnie, it was in LA, and he was the speaker at one of the monthly salons. And after listening to Lonnie share about his business and real estate opportunities he's been seeing in the market, we wound up seated together at the dinner that evening, and he was incredibly welcoming, and we had the chance to speak about his passion as it relates to support of multi-generational families and his personal experience coming up through, the growth of a highly successful business and family office, but also, a lot of the challenges that can create for a family. So, Rush, with you, okay, we'll welcome Lonnie in, and then you can continue with the intros.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
So Lonnie, good afternoon or morning again, as we cross all time zones. Rush is good at the morning, afternoon, evening, so we cover everybody. But welcome to FOA Live.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
And so Rush is going to kick off, and then I'll chime in.
Sounds good.
So we gave a short rundown, Lonnie, but if you wanted to take a little time and kind of give us your personal elevator pitch so everybody gets a little better grasp of who you are, and then we'll go through a couple of questions with you.
All right, sounds good. I don't know about an elevator pitch, but I'll share
We've
a bit
already
about
talked
it.
about you, Lonnie, so this will just be the history.
I get asked all the time to do an elevator pitch, and Jennifer will attest I'm awful at it. So you could not be. You could. The bar is very low. I'll say
Okay.
that.
I'll tell you a bit about myself and what I've been focused on. So really my passion orbits around family and business, and specifically how family and business can have a lasting, even multi-generational positive impact on society. So family and business. So I'll start with a snippet about my family, what I'm most excited about. This year, I'm celebrating being married to my childhood sweetheart for 40 years.
Congratulations.
Shelly, thanks. It's so fun. Shelly's been my best friend since we were 13. And of course, had lots of ups and downs over the years. One of our biggest ups almost all the time is being the proud parents of 4 amazing children. Our 3 oldest are married, and we have 4 super precious granddaughters. It's hard to have enough love for granddaughters. They're just the delight of our lives. And due to a recent announcement, we found out a 5th grandchild is on the way. So super excited about that aspect of our lives. And we love doing life and business together. One of the core values that Shelley and I hold dear for a number of years now is what we call building a better world through entrepreneurial ventures. So each of our kids caught that, what some would call an entrepreneurial disease from us. And they chose spouses who are equally infected, amazingly enough. So they all have their own businesses and business adventures that are creating value for society in different ways. And we enjoy partnering together in various businesses. Definitely wasn't always that way in our family, and happy to talk about that if you want to get into that later. On the business front, owned and developed a number of businesses over the last 40 years, learned a lot through the School of Hard Knocks, through plenty of failures and a few successes along the way. For several years of my journey in business, I was chairman and CEO of a senior housing and care company that was a super exciting run. We grew from a handful of employees to over 2,000 employees in 18 states in just a handful of years. For the last couple of decades, I've been CEO of Wilkinson, which is a real estate, really fully integrated real estate, asset management and investment management platform. We've done a little over $3 billion in total real estate over the years. About $2 billion of that's multifamily real estate. In fact, all of our new investments we've been making for several years have been in the apartment sector, which we've been very thankful for that, as that asset class continued to perform quite well even during the pandemic, and historically has done real well through multiple cycles that we've invested in that asset class. So our passion in business is improving lives. It's not necessarily improving the investment, though that is a result of improving lives. And we do that while building what we call a legacy of success together. So super proud of our team. We've been focused on building a company that has what I really feel is top tier national standards and expertise, but really grounded in small town family values is the way we put it. We're from a small town. Our headquarters is in a small town in Yakima, Washington, where everybody knows us and our kids and our dogs and cats. And we have this clear passion to improve the lives of people and improve the condition of the planet in the process of producing excellent investment results. And so that's been our focus for a number of years.
I grew up in a small town as well, and there was the blessing and curse of that, because we weren't always the most well behaved. So it's there were several evenings where my parents were getting phone calls from neighbors about a disruption. So it's the good thing is they weren't calling authorities, but sometimes I thought that might have been a better alternative than my parents. So you'd mentioned sort of the impact of your professional career, and how the success and running your businesses has affected your family and personal life. Could you unpack that a little bit more for us, please?
That's a big question. It's a 40 years in the making question, Rush.
Do they, real quick, do they, if at 40 years, is that which anniversary is, it's not the diamond anniversary, is it?
Oh man, I should know that.
You
I'm gonna
might
look it
want
up.
to
Will
find
you
it.
answer,
I'll
Lonnie?
find it out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'll
Tell
find
me.
it out and text you. But I think it might be. But I'm just wondering if they do that like birthdays where 40's over the hill. So now you're just on. It's easy living from here on out, I think.
Absolutely. No, we're looking forward to the next 40. But yeah, tell me what it is before my wife.
It's a ruby anniversary. There you go. There's
What
your
is it?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Google.
Okay, so 50's diamond.
Rush, I'll get back on that.
Okay,
We
sorry.
got 40
Yes.
for Ruby. But
Okay.
Lonnie, your story, if you don't. I apologize. This happens.
It's all
We
good.
can't-
Every year it's a diamond anniversary with my wife.
That is awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, real quick, the to get back on track, the your success in your professional career and business, and what that how that affected your family and personal life.
Yeah, great question. I mentioned earlier that we love doing life and business together as a family now, but it wasn't always that way. 25 years or so ago, I would say we look good, smell good, successful in business, leaders in our community and church and all that. But our marriage, frankly, was on the rocks, and my family's future looked pretty bleak. And my family world was really driven by my drive for success in business. And my wife and I were partners in a lot of businesses and investments, and became roommates more or less. And my family world changed when another family came alongside us and helped me and my wife begin to lead our family and our relationship or at least somewhat as intentionally and strategically as I led our businesses. And that was a game changer for us many years ago, and changed, I think, our business success too, because as most business leaders know, when you have your personal life rocking on all cylinders, it gives even more bandwidth and space for success in your business life, especially if you're leading a lot of people. So I think that's had a ripple effect on our business success. But certainly, most importantly, it's had a big effect on what we enjoy most now, which is doing life and business with our family.
And go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, no, so I was going to say, so Lonnie, at the tail end of this conversation, I do have some just questions about updated real estate market. And I know you're seeing a wide range of deal flow. So I want to make sure for those who are in the deal making space on here and looking at the current trends, obviously a lot of craziness over the last several years and a lot of speculation. So I want to get your take on that. As far as the family evolution and the conversations we've had, I know we really had a conversation about how over the course of generations that it becomes tricky in terms of keeping everybody involved and interested in being involved. And so you've been very deliberate in terms of how you and I even had a conversation the other day about how your children are often involved in your efforts now as they're getting older. So if you could talk to us a little bit about that, kind of for you as a family, what has worked as your children are getting older?
I think for us, the paradigm shift is treating our family as a family enterprise, as being first and foremost about family, and having similar disciplines that we exercise to create business success in our family. So basics, like for now 20 some years, we've done an annual family strategic planning retreat. We take a weekend, we have some fun together, but we have some specific processes that we use to both celebrate our successes individually and collectively and in various businesses and personally in the last year, and then set goals individually and collectively for the next year and how we can support each other. So we've done that for a lot of years now. And so like that one practice in itself came because this friend of mine who came alongside me years ago started challenging me and coach me and prod me and cajole me in this area. He said, He said, so Lonnie, when is your next annual strategic planning retreat? And I gave him the date, time, location. And he just laughed. He said, I'm not talking about for your business. I'm talking about for your family. I said, well, who does that for their family? That's weird. He said, well, successful families who do well over the generations do that as well. Tell me about it. So anyway, we've learned, and now from other families on that over the years. And that's just that in itself, for example, has allowed us, so when we get together for family gatherings, we're not, we talk about, sports, football, the weather, latest ski trip, whatever. But we spend most of our time talking about the deeper things about our goals and what we're focused on as a family, how we're living on our values, or we're being challenged with our values. Like last night, our oldest son and his wife came to visit us, and we hung out in the hot tub for 2 hours till we were prunes and totally dehydrated. But it's because the conversation was so rich, and it was all about values and how we're living them out in our individual businesses and how it's impacting our marriage. And I have to say, Shella and I learned more from them, I think, last time than they learned from us. But so that's one example. We do, of course, quarterly family council meetings that we've done for not as long, but for several years now. And in our family council meetings, over half of our time is focused on how we're doing in the non-financial capitals of the family, the relational capital of the family, the social impact capital of the family, the human development capital of the family, etc. And that's made a huge difference also. We do a mid-year, we call our mid-year compass review vacation. Again, just learn from business that if you set goals at the beginning of the year and don't follow up on them pretty consistently and have a significant checkpoint mid-year, they're not as likely to happen. So we've done that for probably 19 years now. And now each of our next generation have their own, what they call their family compass or their family shield, which includes their mission, vision, values, etc. So we have some exercises that we do both as subfamily units as well as a collective family around those things at our mid-year annual family compass review. And that makes a huge difference. And of course, we have a lot of fun, build relationship in the process too. That's always a good time. So that's just a couple examples of a few things we've been learning, and we're still learning how to do that differently as our kids are older and we have next generation coming on.
Well, so Lonnie, you mentioned a number of things there, and one of I know when we had the chance to speak in May, and had a conversation, Katie Fitzgerald was discussing a little bit the family council for the Dunn family, and you were discussing a little bit the business of family. What are you seeing in terms of the differences? We often see where the family office itself is more institutionalized. And perhaps outsourced. The running of the family business sometimes, I think, takes almost allows families to abdicate the rest of the conversation, where, to your point, you spend so much time talking about qualitative aspects of your family. It seems like at times when you separate out the business of it, it almost seems like it dulls or eliminates the conversation about the family. As you're, involved in so many conversations across other families, is there a structure that from one generation to the next seems to support the greatest level of success?
That's a wonderful question, because it's been my passion for the last few years is to try and find as many families who have flourished for 5, 6, 7 generations, where they have still high levels of family affinity, some level of shared values and purpose, etc., and figure out how do they do that? Because I haven't been that far down the road. I still don't really have a clue if everything I'm doing now is going to have the best positive possible outcome 5, 6 generations from now. So learning from those has been a real passion. I love having conversations, interviewing them, etc. And I have discovered a very common theme of a structural approach, a paradigm, maybe be a better way to say it, that extended families that maintain strong affinity for generations define family wealth as being much more than the money and assets. The family wealth is more about the well-being of each family member and of the whole family. And so wealth's not just about how much money or assets the family or anyone in the family has. And almost every one of these more healthy multi-generational families that I've talked to They know that there are multiple forms of wealth, multiple capitals that create success, and they define those. They pay attention to them. In some cases, having separate balance sheets for each of the 4 or 5 forms of family wealth, not just the financial wealth of the family. So I referenced that a couple times. I'll give a couple sentences about that because I think this is key. It's been a key to our family and how we are evolving to focus on success as a family. And frankly, it has a ripple effect in our businesses and how we focus on success in our businesses also. So first we have family is all about relationships ultimately. So the first and foremost, most important capital we think is relational capital. It's the treasure of our family's relational health. And how do we measure that? How do we grow that? How do we ensure that thrives over time? And as people marry into the family, how do we navigate all that relationally for the best possible relational outcomes? The second that we focus on is what we call our legacy capital, or sometimes we call it our spiritual capital. It's essentially the spirit of the family, right? The shared family spirit, the values, the purpose, the cultural DNA of the family. And then there's the human capital, which is, how are we developing and transferring the character of the individuals in the family, the competencies of individuals, the personal capacity, the health of each individual, and how are we ensuring that there's a process in place to nurture those human development factors in the next generations. And then the fourth qualitative capital is the social capital, which there's different labels for these things, of course, but we call it social capital, which is what's the impact of our family on society? What's the impact of our businesses, our investments on society? So, of course, financial capital is one. It's very important. It's almost the fuel that helps the others flourish. But we have found inevitably when there is a loss of financial capital in the family, it's almost always preceded by a prior loss of one or more of those 4 forms of non-financial capital. So thinking through cause and effect, it's like, okay, if I know something causes a certain outcome that creates success or failure in business, I'm going to focus on that cause. If I know something causes a certain outcome in my family, I'm working on focusing more on that cause, which is helping those non-financial, those qualitative capitals flourish in my life, in my marriage, in my family. And that ripples out to everything. So that's a passionate subject because I'm at the age and stage where I realize, I could very easily fall into that shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves category. That, depending on what stats you look at, a high percentage of the wealth, financial wealth, is lost by the 3rd or 4th generation, right? But now understanding that's usually because of prior loss of these non-financial capitals, I'm at least working on focusing on those much more than I used to.
Great. Thanks, Lonnie.
And are these I guess principles or ideas and thoughts that motivated you to write your book?
Yes, in a way, though my book is actually not as much about family as it is about the purpose of business. So the book is by the way, I'm impressed you found that I wrote a book. Not that many people actually even know that.
I did have told you I was super sleuthing, Lonnie, and
beyond business. I'll plug it for you. So,
but I mean, actually, because I never intended to be an author. It wasn't on my bucket list at all. It just came out of like a lot of things in my life, dealing with my own personal challenges I saw around me. So the impetus for it came with my wrestling for years at what's my real purpose behind business? Is it just to make more money? Is it to make rich people richer? Is it, what's the real purpose? And, found some things that gave me joy and meaning beyond the stuff, beyond the money in business. But I guess to help understand why it was a struggle for me, you have to understand my personal context. I grew up in a pastor's home. I'm a pastor's kid. My wife is a pastor's kid. Grew up in an environment thinking that the best way, if not the only way, to make the world a better place was to be a pastor. So I started down that path, as a pastor for a short period, and then fairly quickly discovered my passion was connecting with people who wouldn't normally go to church and helping make their lives and their worlds better. And so I didn't have a business education, so I couldn't get a good job. So I was forced to start a business. I'm permanently unemployable, is the truth. I've never once created a resume in my entire career because it would be really sad. So fell in love with the process of building leaders and teams that made a difference in the world, but wrestled with what my family and others called, leaving my higher calling or my higher purpose or whatever, right? And so over a period of some years, I just started journaling on and doing some research on the roots of business and crafting the cultural norms of society throughout history, and began to realize that, bottom line, business has been and will, I believe, continue to be the most effective way to bring cultural transformation when business is done thoughtfully and intentionally toward that end. And with that, ultimately, I had a kind of a manuscript and sent it out to 25, 30 CEO friends of mine, and they said, yeah, you should publish it, and they gave me some good feedback. So it became a book. But it's really my coming to grips with, man, business is the most effective way to make the world a better place. And we love doing that through all our business and investments, and see that it not only brings purpose and meaning, but it brings sustainable, true success and, frankly, better long-term returns also.
Well, so Lonnie, with your okay, we mentioned in the last couple of weeks that we're actually starting an FOA book club where we're going to go through. We have some members and speakers who have written books, and we kicked off at the retreat with the Dream Big and Win book by Liz Elting that she released and signed for some at the retreat, and we'll send it out to those who didn't get it. But Lonnie, with your okay, would love to include the book in our next set of conversations and maybe come back to you with some questions.
Sure. As long as those who read it, if anybody would give me any ideas they have on how they're actually practicing some of those principles in their business. I'm an implementation guy. So if anybody's doing some really good things to produce a positive impact on society through their business in creative ways, I'd love to hear about it.
Awesome. We'll come back to you. Thank you very much on that. And since Rush is our resident real estate and investment guru here, Rush, if you want to maybe help wrap us up with the nuts and bolts deal maker questions, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. We have about 2 minutes. So just wanted to get your take on, you said specifically in multifamily and apartment complexes, but I'm guessing that the rapid change and increase in interest rates and political climate are having effects on all aspects and all verticals of real estate. How do you view that as, and how are you combating that internally, and what are your thoughts on what that will mean for multifamily, but also other real estate verticals in the next year, 5 years?
And don't worry, Lonnie, unlike some platforms, you don't get yanked out of here on the 30 minutes. We'll just yell at us more.
This one I can talk about. So, I mean, bottom line is it's no surprise that it's pretty inevitable. There have been and there will be more distressed property challenges this year and next year, at least, as many assets have rate caps that expire and need to be refinanced, and they're not able to source rates and loan to value ratios in line with original business plans. So the question is, when will the distress happen? How extensive will it be? And where are the opportunities in that? That's what we're always looking for, right? Because we've just come out of 15 plus years of relatively low interest rates and strong risk adjusted yields, attracted more and more investors to real estate. But right now, a lot of funds don't have the experience of having worked through multiple cycles like this. 3 or 4 years ago, we hired analysts that were, newer to this game, and they consistently wanted to project outcomes and, better cap rates at exit than we were comfortable with, because they hadn't been through, 30 years of doing this like we have, right? And you just learn some things over the years. So I find it fascinating to read the prognostications of what might happen in 2023 and beyond. It's kind of like grab your popcorn and watch the movie time, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball. I've been wrong more than right about predictions of the future in recent years, especially, right? And anybody who's honest would probably say that also. And I think it's only when we make that honest admission that we're more apt to focus on the fundamentals that form success rather than what I think is a false impression that our predictions of the future might just be right this time, right? So for us, bottom line is our view is that consistent positive investment outcomes in real estate and any asset class are primarily driven by really understanding and diligently pursuing the fundamentals that create success in that asset class. So after doing this in real estate for a lot of years, we have pretty strong conviction about what those fundamentals are. And there's a lot of elements, everything from, efficient capital stack structuring and, smart asset selection, minimizing risk and optimizing value, our formula for how we do that. But really the most foundational fundamental of any investment is the consistent stability of growth over time in an asset class that are driven by strong supply demand dynamics. So based on our experience and our research, we've seen that multifamily real estate benchmarks extraordinarily well in most dynamics, especially this most basic dynamic of supply and demand. So even through the volatility of the last few years, the fundamental of stable long-term growth produced really strong supply demand drivers and continues to predict a really strong outlook for multifamily investments. So even though we've done investments in a lot of asset classes over the years, we're pretty biased towards multifamily these days and have been for some years. Like I said at the beginning, we're super grateful for that when the pandemic hit and all the economic challenges around that this asset class, particularly where ours are located and how we manage them, fared quite well. And so we're still active. We're going through 100 to sometimes 150 deals now to find one that even might meet our criteria with long-term fixed rate debt. But we're finding them, but it just takes a lot of work to do that these days. So that's a summary.
Have you found that finding long-term fixed rate debt has been more challenging, or that lending has just been more difficult over the last 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, really. Yeah. So it hasn't been any more challenging for us anyway to get debt. We have such a long track record and history. The only challenge has been obviously the interest rates going up.
Mm-hmm.
So what that does to current yield and IRR is significant impact. And the loan to value ratio, and lenders are getting more conservative. So instead of getting 65, 70%, we're at 50, 55, maybe 60% leverage. So bring in more equity. And sometimes that actually makes sense based on where the interest rates have been to bring in more equity. But for us, bottom line is if we underwrite an asset such that with locking in long-term fixed rate interest, we can produce positive, strong cash flow out the gate right up front, then it doesn't really matter. We can hold the thing until interest rates are down, cap rates are down, and values are back up. And it doesn't really matter how long that takes, essentially, if we have an asset that's positioned well.
Perfect. Well, and Lonnie, so want to thank you very, very much for all of that today. We have for Rod Colorina, thanks for hanging out with us and for your comment in the comment section. Lonnie, I have some messages that have come in to me directly. So with you're okay, I'll follow up and share those, and we'll link out to some of the materials I know you have, and link to the book and all of that. And really, really appreciate your time and the ongoing relationship. I know I didn't mention at the start of the call, of course, on a board of advisors for FOA, resource council member for some time, and you're involved in such a wide range of things with your OK. Probably love to share a spotlight with everyone and fill in all the gaps we didn't have time for today.
Sure, happy to do that. And again, I've told you this before, we individually and as business and as a family deeply appreciate our connection with Family Office Association over the years and the relationships we've developed and the good content that we've received. It's a real treasure to us. So thank you, Jennifer and Rush, for your excellent leadership and continuing to grow this community.
Pleasure. And thanks everyone again for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening. And again, we'll cover morning for those, and Lonnie will post some more follow-ups. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Bye.